Greetings in St. Ezekiel Morano. We are the Group 5. I'm Frances Catherine Gamilla, and let me introduce to you my group members. We have Rhea May de la Cruz, Kurt Matthew Garcia, Roel Hotea, Cristel Montibon, Bradley Janik Dao, Pauline Pilayo, Aaron Perez, Abigail Sonsona, and Ezra Victoriano. Today, we are going to present our performance task number 2, in which we are going to create a program with three main menus: Honey Busy Bee, ATM Stimulator, and Data Collector. Our goal here is to first make sure that users are allowed to rerun each of the menu, rerun the program from the start, and exit the program. The program is expected to provide necessary error trapping modules to avoid abrupt termination of program and to enable the user to recover from erroneous inputs without exiting and rerunning the program. And third, the group should implement the following functions: if statements, which includes if, elif, else, if then and nested if, while loop, and for loop, utilization and creation of function. Without further ado, I will now give the floor to Ms. Rhea May de la Cruz, Roel Hotea, and Mr. Kurt Matthew Garcia to further explain of what our project is all about.
In this program, we have three main menus. First, the user will ask to select in the main menus. And if the user will select one, the Honeybee CB program will run. In this part of the program, it prints a numbers from 1 to 100, but for the multiples of 3, it will print an output BC instead of a number. And for the multiples of 5, it will print B. For the numbers which are multiples both 3 and 5, it will print BCB instead of only printing. This program should also print a word honey whenever it encounters a prime numbers, a number that is only divisible by itself. So if the user will select number 1 in the main menus, the Honeybee CB program will run and the output of the program will appear. And if the user done to run the program, it will ask the user if he or she want to exit the program.
I'm Morello Taya and I will be the one to explain how ATM Simulator works. If the user chooses the ATM Simulator, the program will then ask for the user's PIN. For example, the PIN is 123456. The program will then ask the user to verify the PIN. After verifying the PIN, the program will show the ATM Simulator menu. The user can select a transaction to make, may it be withdraw, deposit, or transfer. There is also an option for the users if they want to do balance inquiry to check how much money is in their bank account. If the user choose balance inquiry, the program will let the user choose what account to use in balance inquiry. The user can either do a balance inquiry from his or her current or savings account. The program will then show the user his or her current balance. The current balance of both accounts is 10,000 pesos. If the user chooses to withdraw, the program will then ask the user to select which account to use, either from the user's current account or from the user's savings account. Let's say the users choose the current account where he or she wants to withdraw. The user will then have to input the amount of money that he or she will withdraw from current account. The user cannot withdraw if he or she inputs the amount of money that exceeds from his or her balance. The program will inform the user that he or she doesn't have enough balance. Example, the user currently have 10,000 in his bank account. If we input 20,000, The program will inform us that we don't have enough balance. If we input example 3,000, the program will then process the withdrawal and notify the users the withdrawal transaction was successful. Same goes with savings. He, the user, also cannot withdraw if he or she inputs the amount of money that exceeds from his or her savings. The program will notify the user that he or she doesn't have enough balance. Okay, if the user chooses to deposit, the program will then ask the user to select which account to use, either from the user's current account or from the user's savings. Our current balance is 10,000 for both accounts. If let's say we deposit money to savings account, for example, 3,000 pesos, then the program will inform the user that the transaction was successful. Same goes with when the user wants to deposit to the current account. To make sure that the money was deposited, the user can go back to the main menu and check balance inquiry for savings account. So the current balance right now is 13,000 because we deposited 3,000 pesos. If the user chooses transfer, the program will ask the user to select which from which account he or she will transfer, either from savings to current or from from current to savings. Then the program will ask for the amount of money that the user will transfer. After entering the amount, the program will then inform the user that the transaction was successful. Then, the user can also choose to exit the program or go back to the main menu. That's all. Thank you.
I am Kurt Matthew Garcia, and today we would show you our data collector. So if the user chooses the data collector, this menu would appear, and the user has the freedom to choose what kind of method he or she wants to use. So if the user chooses the list method, the program will let the user enter an item to be included on the list. It is important to know that the user can enter any amount of data, any type and any amount of data. For example, for fruits, if the user added apple, banana, and cherry, the program will then let the user use what kind of function he or she wants to use. So let us go first with the option append. So if the user wants to input mango, then this would appear. Mango is added at the end of the list. That means list items are ordered. When we say ordered, it means that the items have a defined order. That order will not change. If you add new items to a list, the new items will be placed at the end of the list, just like when we input the data mango. Next is the second option, insert. In this method, the program will let the user input the data he or she wants to insert. So for example, if the user wants to input the data pineapple, the user will let the will sorry, the program will let the user choose which position he or she wants to insert the said data. So for example, it is important to know that the position number should not exceed the number of data the user has input on that said list. So for example, if the user has inputted the data on the 8th position, the, the program will then inform the user that it is out of range because there are only 5 items, as we can see on the said screen. But if the user has inputted the data on the 3rd position, the list value is now valid because the index is included on the range of data. List items are indexed, so the first item has an index of 0 and the second item has an index of 1. I'm sorry. So next, let us go to the option sort. So if the user has picked the sort method, it will sort the data alphanumerically, ascending, descending, or by default. So if we choose the method sort, this would appear. Lastly, is the reverse method. The reverse method will only reverse the current sorting order of the elements. So if the user chooses the reverse method, this would appear. Now let us go to the second method, which is tuple. If the user chooses this method, the program will then ask for the input. Tuple has an immutable data value that contains related elements, such as a person's name, age, or gender. For example, if we input the data, for example, Christelle, Rhea, Ezra, and Roel, this option will only appear. This is because tuples are immutable or cannot be changed. And so if we convert this to list, this will appear. The user can choose again what type of list method he or she wants to use. So if the user, for example, chooses to convert it again back to tuple, this would appear. Next is set. Again, the user has the freedom to input any kind and any amount of data. So for example, if the user inputs apple, banana, and cherry, the user has several options to choose from. So for example, if the user chooses the add method, the program will then ask the user for a data to add. For example, the user wants to add mango on the set, then this will appear. This is because sets are unordered. You cannot be sure in which the items will appear, unlike the list method, in which it is ordered and indexed. However, set collection does not allow duplication. If we add mango again, this would appear. Now let us go to the discard method. The program will just ask the user for a data to discard. So if the user will choose to discard the data apple, this would appear. Next, we have the difference method. The program will ask the user to create a temporary set to get the difference from. So for example, if we input Google, Microsoft, and Apple, this would appear. The program has returned the set that contains a difference between the two sets, which are the data banana and cherry. So finally, we have the option dictionaries. If the user chooses dictionary as a type of data collector, the program will then ask the user to input a data key and its corresponding value. For example, the first data key is name, and its corresponding value is Christelle. The second data key is age, and its corresponding value is 18. Finally, the third data key is gender, and its corresponding value is female. The user can use any data key according to his or her preference. As long as the data value corresponds, after that, the user will have input his or her data keys and value, and the program will let the user to choose different dictionary methods. So if the user chooses the items method, the program will return the dictionary's key value pairs. For values, the program will return the list of values in the dictionary. For keys, the program will return the list of keys in the dictionary. Finally, if the user chooses the get method, the program will let the user data key he or she wants to get the value from. For example, if the user will input the value name, this would appear. The program returned the value of the item with the specified key. In this case, we input the value name and its corresponding key is Christelle. Lastly, the user can choose to exit the data collector. After exiting the data collector, the program will ask the users again if he or she wants to exit the program. If their user inputs N, then the program will return to the main menu. If the user inputs Y, the program will end. That is all. Thank you for listening.